when they go to a charter school. So every charter school, I'm gonna give you a little behind the scenes action, right? So every charter school has an accountability plan in New York State. There's two bodies that are in charge. Either one is the State University of New York, or the other one is NYSED, the New York State Education Department. These are your two governing bodies, and they make sure that you follow an accountability plan. And on this accountability plan, you have your test scores, you have your college readiness, you have your graduation rates, you have all of these measures that are usually higher than the New York State standard that you have to meet. And if you don't meet these accountability plans, you are going to get shut down. You will not get second chances. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's difficult. No one wants to see their school get shut down, but people need schools that are accountable to our kids, accountable to the community, accountable to the people, to make sure that kids are being educated and that they're learning from these schools. So we have the traditional district schools here, and then we have charter schools here. Now there's 27 charter schools. There's district schools that also service a bunch of our kids. Which is more innovative? You have schools currently that often are failing and not doing well, or you have schools like Rockside that's focused on STEM. You have ANOVA, which is an all-girls school, which is also focused at STEM from the time that they come in from kindergarten. We have Green Tech Rochester coming to y'all. Green Tech Rochester is going to be an all-boys school, focused on STEM, focused on science, focused on making sure that the holistic boy gets what they need. We have the Academy of Health Science, focused on science. We got Renaissance Academy, that is a school of the arts for the elementary students. You have YWCP, which is the Young Women's College and Career Prep Program. You got Rochester Prep. We have RACS Academy, all these schools that are innovative and creative. Why go to a failing school when you can go to an innovative school? But the Democrats here are just aligned with what the teachers union tells them to do. The problem associated with that is they're underneath is they want the privatization of it for the funds to go. They want the public funds to go to the private areas to create which is creating some issues, especially with the opposite end of the tape with the Democrats. But the Democrats here are just aligned with what the teachers union tells them to do. And so that's the problem, but the school choice is important. So why is school choice important, right? School choice is important because, and I've said this before, y'all, is that if you want a choice whether you sit in the front or the back of the bus, why wouldn't you want a choice of where your kid goes to school at? Why is it that we fight for other social justices and we fight for other rights, but when it's time for our kids to go to school in a city that's democratic like Rochester, often people have a problem with charter schools. They have a problem with the charter schools for the wrong reasons, because of the myths, not because of the facts. People have a problem with charter schools. No one's saying death to the district. No one's saying the district needs to be amazing. The district needs to be open. The district needs to improve. However, you deserve a choice because of the fact that you are a black and brown person who often economically is disadvantaged. If you live in this city, you need a choice where your kid gets an education at. So why not have a school choice? And why don't our legislators stand behind that? They don't stand behind it because of the teachers' unions. We need to check on that and vote for legislators that will get behind school choice, because you deserve a choice. Your kids deserve a choice. What if I told you that little Justin was only worth $24,300 and little Jermaine was only worth $14,200? But Justin and Jermaine are brothers and live in the same household. They both live off of Hudson Avenue in a 2-bedroom apartment, and they stay in the same room together. But their mother sends one to the charter school, one to a district school. However, Justin receives an education where he's not going to be successful. Little Jermaine receives an education where he's got 3 to 4 times the chance to be successful, but their state only says that he's worth 3/5 of that. Why isn't that a problem, y'all? Please tell me why the state has the opportunity and the ability to dictate the equity for our kids. Why do they do that? They do that because the state is aligned to the teachers union, and the teachers union is aligned to people's pockets by delivering money for their campaigns. That's why they're doing that, not because it's what's best for kids. They're doing it because that's what's best for them. Right. This is why I'm fighting for charter schools. And I know all the haters out there say something different. I want you people to really think about, when we are the underdogs, how do we fight differently? We fight differently by looking at the numbers, looking at the statistics, because there's good and bad and ugly in every world. However, when you look at the overall, charter schools outperform the districts. Charter schools in New York State outperform the district. Charter schools nationally outperform the districts. Charter schools in this city outperform the districts. Are charter schools perfect? Absolutely not. However, do they make an exceptional choice that are worth fighting for? This is why they matter, because statistically they are saving our black and brown kids' educational futures by operating in a way that gives the kids a chance to be successful. If you want your kids to be successful here in Rochester, go to one of the Rochester charter schools that are here. No Child Left Behind, Every Student Succeeds. These were all put into place because they want children to be successful. When you look at success and you look at the graduation metric, we've talked about accountability. The charter schools have plans where 75% of their students or more have to graduate, and if they don't, they will be shut down. However, the schools in Rochester average somewhere between a 75 and 95% graduation rate for the high schools that are in Rochester, New York. Let's look at the district's graduation rates, which are a little bit lower, and I would like to see what they are for this year as well, now that COVID's over with. We have work to do, y'all, as a city. However, the charter schools are worth fighting for. They're worth the accountability because they are graduating students year in and year out. The charter schools are handling business. Continue to do what is needed for our kids. Continue to put your kids in the charter schools so that they can graduate and be success stories too. Are students more ready for the workforce if they go through the charter schools than the district? So let's take UPrep, for example. UPrep has culinary arts programs. They have welding programs. They have, Vertus has barbershop programs, game design programs. There's so many different programs that are in these schools that are getting kids ready for their workforce development. I once had an owner of one of the large supply chains say to me that many of the kids who are coming from the district schools are not ready with 9th grade math to be able to take apprenticeship and construction jobs. However, the